It is week 11. Power rankings, not going to bring any debates on this show whatsoever. But our top 12 of week 11, how do you see it?
At number 1, I've got Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. 3, Texas A&M. 4, Alabama. 5, Oregon. 6, Georgia. 7, Ole Miss. 8, Texas Tech. 9, Notre Dame. 10, USC. 11, Louisville. And then we did a little bit of a different iteration of the ranking this week after we just did all that yelling. Who would be the G6 team? And we both ended up going with Memphis in the situation.
Yeah, because they're going to get in anyway, so we might as well put one in there and who we think is going to get in. Here's my top 12. Ohio State at number 1, A&M at 2, Indiana at 3, Bama at 4, Georgia at number 5, Ole Miss at 6, Oregon at 7, Texas at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Texas Tech at number 10, and the Cavaliers rounded out 11. Oh, yes, baby. Give me the Cavaliers at number 11 in the G6 team. I am agreeing with Joe. I am going with the University of Memphis.
I got a lot of people that are already really pissed off at me in the chat. I'm seeing this right now. So I want to start this conversation by this. I have USC at 10, and I would like to get your thoughts on this placement. I understand
I was going to attack you there first,
okay,
but I'm glad you went here. Yes, USC at 10.
I understand that USC has had 2 weak performances this year. They lost to Illinois. Well, they only got 2 losses, and they played.
The Nebraska game was a little weak.
Yeah, but they played Nebraska close, and that was a road. I think that they deserve credit for the way that they played against Nebraska. Okay, that is a game that Lincoln Riley loses in the past. So that is 1,000% a game that Lincoln Riley would not finish on the road.
Regardless,
tough
continue.
Game. Your offense isn't playing as good as it could. I thought that game proved more because they won with their defense. I understand that their performances against Illinois with the early kick didn't go well, but they still stormed back and almost won it. The Notre Dame game was a complete mess because they were overmatched. It was not a setting that was set up for them to succeed. But when we look at USC as a whole unit, as a team, they have been one of the most dominant teams in college football just in terms of explosiveness on offense and also for the ways that they've been able to control most of their other games on their schedule. They have 2 bad performances. The Nebraska game was a solid win for them. I think that we need to recognize that USC is a better team than they're being led on to be.
I don't disagree with some of your thoughts on them. Look, they're in this spot here, and they got Oregon in a couple of weeks, and they could upset them here, and they can firmly find themselves in the playoffs. But I want to say they're a bipolar team, but I don't like using that verbiage because I don't like saying that because people get upset with it. And I'm not trying to do it that way. I'm just saying,
they are. I mean, it's fine. It's an effective way of talking about them because different versions of them have shown up for different games.
They're very bad on the road.
The Michigan version is a lot better than the Notre Dame version.
They're very bad on the road.
Yeah.
And look, you can give them credit for going into Nebraska in the cold and winning that game. I guess. Like, I guess so, maybe. I mean, Raiola did get hurt. I know it was kind of late there when he did get hurt. But, Joe, you got a defense in Nebraska that has literally struggled in all of the key areas that you've had success in. I get it's a weather-related game. You want to do it that way. That's fine. I don't trust them. Like I just do not trust them to go on the road and play one of these premier teams and win. I think that they're really good on offense. I think they got a lot of explosiveness. They run the ball effectively. But man, that secondary is horrendous. And I look at their coaching staff. Brother, Lincoln did go into Notre Dame and make some really dumb mistakes. Very dumb mistakes. And I think that has to be countered into this. And when you're putting him at 10. Now, I see you here putting him at 10, just to give you a reference for mine. Like I have Texas Tech. And I'm just looking at yours. You have Texas Tech higher than that. But the team that you don't have in here is Texas. And
I had him at 12 for what it's worth.
Okay. But you have USC ahead of them. And I would say, you could say the Florida loss. Okay?
Well, we're not doing resumes, remember. We're not talking resumes.
I talk resumes. You don't.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is Texas is a better football team, in my opinion, than USC is.
Okay, here's the thing. I was strongly considering putting Texas in here and putting them in quite high. And I put mine together before you sent me your rankings, and then I decided to take Texas out. And it had nothing to do with looking at yours. I think that Texas very well, over the course of the next few weeks, could 1,000% absolutely establish themselves as a top 8 team, as a team worthy of being in the top 8 mix, not on the cusp of getting into the playoff, but as like a firm, this team is in. I think if they beat Georgia or Texas A&M and they split that series, that situation, that proves one thing to me, that they're playing to the potential that we put on them in the preseason. The version that we saw them against Vandy is absolutely the version that we hoped that they could have been. Arch playing out of his mind, making big throws, defense smothering any big play that could possibly happen. They're shutting it down. But the problem is, and why I couldn't fully commit to it, Blake, is because they've got duds previously. They're 2 weeks removed from an overtime game against Mississippi State, and they let Vanderbilt get back into the game. I am very concerned with the fact that they let Vanderbilt get back into the game. That, to me, is like the big issue here, where I don't know if all sins have been completely resolved to this point.
It's so funny because Sunday you said that they just exhaled and said, "Screw it, we're going to win anyway."
Well, no, but
you have Louisville ahead of them too, and that's a whole different conversation for another day, unless you want to have it now.
I mean, let's have it,
Joe. That defense
conversation.
The defense is disgusting. I get offensively that they've had struggles. I get it. So has USC on the road. They've had defensive issues on the road. I mean, Illinois, for what it's worth, reared back and smacked them in the face up and down the field in the run game.
But they almost came back and won that game, despite being
almost is cool and hand grenades and horseshoes. I know that I'm getting a better, more athletic team in Texas, and you know that. I know that if you put on a neutral field right now, our good friends over at FanDuel would have Texas favored over USC.
I don't think there's that much of a separation as you're
There's a massive separation on lines of scrimmage defensively, and you know that. The way that Colin Simmons literally disrupted a game.
That's one position group, though.
Their secondary's not good. That secondary for USC got torched like me on a marshmallow in the middle of winter. That secondary is cheeks too.
I don't agree with this premise.
USC played close against a couple of teams. Who is their best win? Who have they shown?
Michigan. They dominated Michigan.
Okay.
Ranked Michigan team.
And an Oklahoma team that Texas beat that they handled. You see where I'm going here?
Wait, no. I'm not going to let you do that because you just tried to kind of casually imply that USC beat Michigan, who lost to Oklahoma.
They did.
But that's okay. We talk about how we don't want to use transitive property all the time on this show, and that's what transitive property is.
No.
Comparing similar results between teams.
Michigan lost
transitive property.
Michigan
property is
you're doing a ranking together. You're doing a power ranking.
But this is where I have problems. You're trying to chain games together to justify.
Okay. I have Michigan on the road at Oklahoma getting dominated. And you're telling me that a team in Oklahoma who then turned around a couple of weeks later and physically got dominated by Texas. Physically dominated.
Too many layers to compare them. I don't like.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but games on the field matter.
They matter, but we say this all the time. Transitive property.
Oklahoma is a 2-loss team.
There's two teams of buffer in there.
Oklahoma's a top 12 football team in the committee rankings. Are they not?
Wait, if Texas had played Michigan, I would allow this conversation. I'm fine with this conversation.
You don't have to go the full transitive property here. But it also comes down to a situation where I got to be real with you. it looks like USC played a close game against Notre Dame, and people are putting them up when their best win is Michigan, who's not that great. That Michigan team's not that good. They're not. So if that is what we're comparing on, and then you lay duds on the road, I got to be real with you. It's not just the players that in secondary that's laying duds. The coaching staff is. And I am going to trust Sarkisian to figure it out with his quarterback like he has and like they're starting to do more than I'm going to trust Lincoln Riley.
I'm in on this Texas team, and I kind of tried to
Clearly you're not.
No, I am. I
don't
just
deserve any barbecue ever again in your life because of what you've done to Texas today.
Okay. I have been
no more Buckies for you.
I have been an apologist for Texas because I blindly supported them at the beginning of the year, and I want to feel somewhat justified. And I really like Arch. I really like him as a player. But I don't think that there's also you're making it out to be as if there is a massive separation between the USC roster and the Texas roster.
There is
the USC coaching staff and the Texas coaching staff.
There is
not. There's not. Lincoln Riley has been equally as successful of a coach.
Name a time that he's gotten to the playoff in the modern NIL era. He hasn't.
He hasn't.
Okay, Sark has gotten back.
He's still made playoff appearances, though.
Yeah, before the new age of college football.
He's got multiple quarterbacks that are now starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
And it's not right now. So you talk about transitive property. Oh, that's
not a transitive property. Where you're trying to say that Sark is some unbelievably better coach than Lincoln Riley?
The guy who, in the new era of college football with NIL in the portal, got to 2 Final Fours, and Lincoln Riley can barely get over 6-6. Who's the better one?
That's just
okay. That's what
no. That's just recently, though. But like, you can't make that pure, simple claim when you have a guy who has a track record of turning guys into Heisman Trophy winners and first-round picks.
I got a really good question for you. Neutral field right now, who are you taking, Texas or USC?
I don't think that you're asking me like that's like an immediate answer. That's not an easily answerable question.
Okay.
That's not a gut. You're trying to trap me by asking me a question that I'm going to answer off the top of my head.
Because if you would have picked USC, you would have came out and said USC.
That's not true. Just because I didn't have a gut reaction, I'd have to sit here. I would like to think through an answer.
Okay. How about this? We won't hold you to it. Gut reaction right now. Who are you taking?
Neutral field. Wait, no.
It is Texas.
I don't think that is such a simple question. I think that I would pick USC. USC has had in every single statistical category. You know, we love to talk about what we see on the field, but what we see on the field matches the data. They are the most explosive offense in college football.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
What are you talking about?
You know why? Because I've seen them 4 times this year go on the road and lose explosiveness. I've seen teams like A&M and Indiana go on the road, and their explosiveness doesn't go anywhere. They're not the most explosive team in the country.
I've seen Texas's elite defense give up, 40 points to Mississippi State? Give up 30 points to Vanderbilt after they blew a lead that they had?
And I saw Illinois, who's in the hundreds in total offense, be able to move the ball up and down on them. We can do this all day.
And also, by the way, you can't just say no, USC is not when they're number 1 in adjusted EPA per play. They are number 2 in EPA per drop back.
What are your eyes telling you when those teams go on the road? When you're playing Tarleton State in week 1 and you can hit 14 explosive plays,
they didn't play Tarleton State.
I'm making up a stupid team. When you're going on the road and Nebraska's able to lock you down and you can't hit explosive plays on a secondary in Notre Dame, who, by the way, Notre Dame's secondary is 118th in the country, and you can't throw the ball when you need to on the road. Newsflash, my guy, that Notre Dame secondary is ass cheeks. They are awful.
It's not. Okay, first of all,
you're 118th in passing yards allowed, and you're telling me that they're not cheeks.
You're making it. It's just too simple of a statement to make that they're ass, because they have really good corners that didn't start the season very well, and since their really bad start,
they might not be good corners.
Okay. Leonard Moore is one of the best corners in college football.
Is he getting roasted in the current moment?
No, he's not. It's not him. It's the other corners. So don't take a shot at Leonard Moore. Blake,
I'll give you that. Okay.
To backtrack here for a quick second here. We're spending a lot of time on USC. I would like to move on from talking about USC. I understand that you would like to see more consistency from USC, but here's my problem. All of the teams 8 and beyond in like our relative frame of teams that we have here, and all the teams in the back end of the top 25, they've all been inconsistent. None of them have been consistent. So if I have a team that's statistically generating the most explosiveness offensively, I think that needs to be recognized.
Sure, it can be recognized. And then when you go on the road and you get bent over and smacked on the ass, it also
guess what? Guess what? They have one road game left. And they have one road game that's at Autzen. So they don't have to do this shit where they got to travel to the Midwest again.
You can't. But here's the thing. You talk about me with resume. Here's what you can't do. You can't look forward to what teams are going to do.
Wait, but you just said that they can't. No. You just said that they can't play well on the road. They literally don't have any more road games. There's one more road game.
But you said when I look at them and I look into their future, that was your exact verbiage. You can't look into their future for power ranking. This is past tense.
That's not how. Well, that's also not how I look at.
Here's also a thing that I have that for Texas that USC doesn't. They have ranked wins. USC doesn't.
They have a ranked win against Michigan.
Okay, Michigan's not going to be a ranked team, and you brought that up last night. They're not going to be a ranked team when this is over. Oklahoma will.
Wait, Texas's best ranked win is against Vanderbilt. Who else do they have?
They beat Oklahoma, who's at 12 against the committee, part of the committee.
Which they shouldn't be. They absolutely should not be.
Well, Joe, there's a lot of 2-loss teams. There's a lot of teams that you think shouldn't be there, but who would you have above them? I mean, clearly you thought it was Louisville, but
wait. Do you have so you mentioned Louisville. Why do you have an issue with Louisville? But you're willing to. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, because they lost Isaac Brown, and their run game is still in the 120s. And it's going to get them beat. And when you can't go to Chris Bell, and I don't trust Miller Moss to have to throw you to a win against these other 12 teams on here. Ironically, even though Chandler Morris is Mr. Turnover King, what he's done with his legs and the way that they continue to find ways to win, I would trust him a little bit more. Isaac Brown being out is a problem for me with Louisville.
I didn't want to get into comparing with Virginia, but I will give my thoughts on that in a second. I get losing Isaac Brown is an issue, but to what your point is that you just mentioned there, Isaac Brown, it's not that he hasn't been playing well. They haven't been running the ball very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would almost argue that their success this season has not come off of Isaac Brown. It's come off of Chris Bell. Chris Bell and the passing attack, it's not even really. Miller Moss has been solid. He has been, he's kind of done enough in big games for them to convert and to be able to win. But Chris Bell is a big driving force, I think, for them. And I also believe that their defense, the interior of their defensive line, is incredibly underrated. It's one of the best in college football. It has been incredibly sturdy in not allowing opposing teams to move the ball on the ground against them. So I think that those attributes of their team need more recognition. They're going to be in a position, I think, to actually win the ACC out of any of these ACC teams. My problem with UVA, I think they've got 3 overtime wins this year. I'm just not going to invest in a team that could barely fend off teams. Like you just can't put faith into a team that can barely win games. They're going to lose a game or two. It's just unsustainable. We talk about with Georgia, but to the most extreme circumstance because they keep going to overtime, and half the time it's been to kind of mediocre teams in the ACC.
Every team in the ACC is mediocre. I mean, did you see Georgia? By the way, Georgia Tech's not on here. They're the only other 1-loss team that's not on here. I mean, they were ranked 18th. You know why they were ranked 18th? They didn't do this for A&M, but they did do it for Georgia Tech because their strength of schedule is completely trash. Complete trash.
Whose strength of schedule? Sorry.
Georgia Tech's. So they'll do that to Georgia Tech, who's a 1-loss team, but they won't do it for other teams. I mean, it's just the truth. I got to pick a bone with you, though. I keep picking it with you. You got to put Ole Miss higher than 7th. You're going to have to start giving them respect. I'm sorry.
Blake, just because I had them in the same exact spot as I had them last week.
But here's the problem that I have with what you're doing with Ole Miss at the
You have them at 6.
Yeah, but I've kept having them at 6, and I haven't moved them. And the reason they got moved down from 5th was because Georgia and Alabama kept winning against ranked opponents. So they got put down. Hold on. They got moved down a spot. But you have kept Ole Miss there when they've beaten 3 straight ranked opponents.
Like, I haven't
only
moved
loss
them.
Comes to Georgia on the road. And you want to defend Oregon over them. That's the problem I have.
Blake, I moved them up after the game that they had against Oklahoma. And I'm going to continue to repeat this. Their run defense is awful. It's awful. We're not talking about it's not great. It's awful. It is statistically one of the worst run defenses in college football. And them beating South Carolina this week, nothing from that game really makes me decide, I got to move them up. Blake, I think that this Oregon team has had a little bit of a slow stretch, but it feels like they're a team right now that people are just looking for a reason to drag them down. They have a very talented roster. They have a huge capability to dominate teams when they play them. And I think that the Iowa game this weekend is going to allow for us to reframe how we look at them. But Blake, we can't – I'm not going to blindly put faith in the Ole Miss just because they beat Oklahoma. I'm not going to do that. The Georgia game was very concerning for me because they couldn't stop that rushing attack. And I think there's a lot of teams in the top 6 that they would face off with that would run right through them, including Oregon.
35 straight touchdowns. You give them no credit ever.
That's not a sustainable. I gave them credit. I think
it's not sustainable when they do it every week.
Yeah, when you're living by that by a thread. It's when not you're sustainable. Scoring
and you're a top 15 total offense, top 10 scoring offense. It's not sustainable every week when you're doing it every week.
Blake, if you build a lead, or actually forget that, if you're in a high scoring game and you can't get a stop, that's going to cost you, like it did against Georgia.
Okay,
Oregon runs all over them if they play them. Oregon runs all over them.
Okay,
I bet you they do.
No, they won't.
Yes, they will.
No, they won't because then put Georgia behind Oregon.
Why? Why do I have to do that?
Because, Joe, you got a one-score game, and you're saying that Oregon's now going to walk all over them on a team that you have.
No. Hold on. I did not. You're changing my words. I did not just say to you that Oregon walks all over Ole Miss. I said to you that they have an easy time running the football. That was what I just said. I didn't imply that they blow them out. I implied that they would be able to run the ball easily. Are you
Oregon will walk all over Ole Miss. You literally
run. I said run.
Walk. You said they walk all over.
No. You're trying to frame it. I also didn't say walk. You're trying to frame. You also didn't just play the opposite. You did it. That's bullshit. What you just did, Blake. You were in a situation where this team, in order to be considered to be a legitimate threat, we talk about this all of the time. Winning along the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
They are winning on one side of the line of scrimmage against everybody that they played.
Their O-line's been solid.
They've been dominating in the run game against literally everybody that they play. I don't disagree with you with their defense. To say that they wouldn't do that to a lot of teams when Georgia, who, by the way, Georgia is run defense. Georgia's 15th in the country in run defense. And they did run all over them. And you say, well, they only had like 75 yards. And then I go in the red zone when they weren't throwing the ball. They threw the ball all the way in between the 20s. They got inside the 20s, and guess what happened? They had 4 rushing touchdowns. They lined up in the red zone and popped Georgia in the mouth. And there was nothing that they could do to stop it.
I'm not disagreeing with
Ole
you.
Miss has done more impressive things versus ranked opponents than Oregon has.
What other game besides the Oklahoma game are you so excited about?
Georgia, because
they lost to Georgia because of a glaring issue, and you're impressed?
But I also look in a situation where saying, all right, the 5th and 16th play against each other, and they lost by a touchdown. And I look at you and say, Indiana dominates Oregon, and I ask you the question, who has Oregon outside of Georgia that you constantly bring up against a ranked opponent? The best team that they played to date has been Penn State from a talent level standpoint, and they had to go into double overtime.
On the road in Happy Valley across the country. Again, the context is important here for what we're talking about and how you're trying to frame who Oregon has gone up against. No, this is where stop. Let me get a point in. Let me get a point in?
Sure.
Blake, you can't just base your thought process on how a team is just because they've played ranked teams. Like, this is my problem with this. You're saying, I'm impressed with the way that they played against Georgia, a game that they lost where their run defense was mega shit. And it's been mega shit the entire way through.
So has the other teams that you have right there around them.
What are you talking about?
Oh, well, let's look. USC's defense in times has been shit. Notre Dame's defense.
They're at 10. They're at 9. Ole Miss is ahead of them.
Oregon, against the best team that they played defensively, also looked like shit on the best team that they played.
I don't think that they look. They had
that wide receiver core absolutely abused Oregon, and you know it.
That is revisionist history for the outcome of that game. My computer died, and I wish I could quickly pull up the box score of that game.
Pull up your phone, and it's not going to show up from a statistical standpoint. But I want you to go look at all the PIs that they had when we broke that game down.
Their secondary still forced a key interception that was important for them almost getting back into the game.
Not as good as you think he is.
If there is, that's not true.
You just made
not true.
Mendoza.
Mendoza is as good as we think he is, and that was a completely unnecessary shot that you to take of him. The only legitimate criticism that you could take at Oregon is that Dante Moore did not step up to that challenge.
No, he didn't. But you know who did?
Who?
Winnidad Chambliss.
Chambliss,
every time that y'all say that he's ass or he can't do it, he just keeps doing it.
What's the best defense
Georgia
that Ole Miss has faced?
Georgia, and he put up 5 straight touchdowns.
But a team that has no pass rush going up against a scrambling mobile quarterback, that's not
then Joe,
context that we can bring up in this.
Georgia down on your list more. If you don't think they're a good team, put them down on your list.
I didn't say that I think that they're not. I don't think that they're a good team. I'm merely asking you. Okay. Your argument is contingent on the fact that Ole Miss's offense is so dominant. But who have they been challenged by?
I remotely said that their defense. I haven't said a word about their defense.
No, I said offense. I said offense.
Yeah, because they keep popping everybody in the mouth that they play. And you came out here 2 weeks ago, this Oklahoma defense, number 1 total defense in the country. And they ran it right down their ass.
And I came back immediately and said that defense has been overrated.
So Oklahoma's defense isn't good anymore. They don't have good
it's players. Not. They played like ass against Tennessee last week. They're not. They're an overrated defense.
4 turnovers. How's that ass?
Did you see all the big plays that they gave up?
Sure. Do you see the 4 turnovers that they had?